In Conversation with Terry Shepard, award-winning broadcaster, narrator, and author. A deep dive into the writer's craft with the artists and support systems who create the stories we love.
Thanks, Lisa. Marshall Karp is no stranger to heart-pounding suspense, razor-sharp dialogue, and characters so real that they practically leap off of the page. He's a #1 New York Times best-selling author, contributing to the phenomenal success of the NYPD Red series, a longtime TV and screenwriter, and the mastermind of some of the most cleverly plotted crime fiction out there. And now he's back with a standalone novel that is as bold as it is unforgettable. The book is Don't Tell Me How to Die. The release date is March 4th, and it's filled with Marshall's signature wit, masterful plotting, and a final twist that surprised the heck out of me, I'll tell you that. Marshall Karp, welcome back. It's good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you too.
You're in the promotional phase for Don't Tell Me How to Die. Are you getting any sleep?
I am happily working 7 days a week, both on promoting Don't Tell Me How to Die, finishing up NYPD Red 8, subtitle The 1159 Bomber, shoveling snow, navigating ice, taking the dog out using cleats and ski poles because I live up here in the country and it is cold and terrible. And when I do sleep, I sleep with a hoodie and a parka.
That's a common question I get from a lot of both readers and writers is life intrudes. A lot of things are going on. How do you balance all of those things and still create such great fiction?
I remember back in the day, the company I worked for hired a time management consultant for me. And I was only a half an hour late to our first meeting. And she said, let me see your things to do list because I know you have one. Yeah, and I did. And there was 27 things on it. And she said, if you're lucky, you will get 2 of these done. And instead of feeling good about the 2 you got done, you're going to feel miserable about the 25 you didn't get done. So I want you to prioritize A, B, C, and who gives a rat's ass, and just concentrate on 3A things on your list. And so changing your perspective about what's important that day is another couple of weeks. It's my wife's birthday. I'm going, she'll be in the city. I'll be upstate. I'm going into the city that day. And that's the most important thing I'm doing that day. That's it. I think knowing a little bit about how to manage your time helps. But I think the bottom line is don't give yourself so much to do that you're going to hate yourself for not getting it all done. You're nodding your head. Boy, does that resonate.
It absolutely does. It's my major problem. I pay somebody to trail boss my week, and I have to send her my list on Monday. And she always says, she's an ex-therapist, so she always says there's too much on here.
Yeah, and that's called life gets in the way. Man plans, God laughs. It's just, I don't know how. I think one of the ways I'm able to get it done is, and I've been accused of being able to do this, somehow in all my scattered meanderings, squirrel, I somehow have discipline. I know what I want to get done. And, I am actually late on deadline for NYPD Red 8 because Don't Tell Me How to Die has consumed so much. And that's a high-class problem.
We're with Marshall Karp. His newest is Don't Tell Me How to Die, and you can do a deep dive into his adventures at karpkills.com. The early reviews for the book are off the charts great.
And that's a high-class problem. Everybody loves this book. And when I say everybody, I'm talking about 97% of the people who had advanced copies. The reviews on Goodreads, the reviews on NetGalley. You can't go on Amazon until launch day, but a lot of these sites have, and on TikTok, people are saying things about me. I'm not a TikToker. And I watch, and this one young woman goes, it's the best book I've ever read. And I'm going like, she's young. And then some of them go, for sure, this is one of the best books of 2025. And I'm going, it's January 4th. But one of them is holding up the book and she's just going, Marshall Karp, you diabolical mastermind. So I now have Marshall Karp, you diabolical mastermind tattooed on my, you want to see it? Here, look.
Yeah. You got the .com too.
Oh my God. I want to promote the idea that if you believe in something and you do it, despite everybody else saying, because this book took me 7 years because it's not the kind of stuff I usually write. And I kept, and 7 drafts. And I cannot tell you how many days and nights of paralyzing self-doubt because it was rejected by a lot of, let's call them smart publishers or let's call them successful publishers. But I love the quote from this guy, Richard Bach, who wrote, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, a professional author, is an amateur who didn't quit. I just refused to give up on an idea that was impossible to write, and I wasn't sure that it would resonate with publishers, but since the book is a woman's point of view, and I, spoiler alert, did not grow up as a teenage girl, I reached out to, I don't know, between 50 and 100 different women to talk in the beginning about what would you do if you were in the protagonist's shoes, and what did you think of this draft, and it made a huge difference. And the book kept getting better as I got deeper and deeper into what makes the character tick. But for anybody out there, especially for people who are out there who want to write, trust your instincts. Do what works for you. That's what I did. There are a million people out there who can stop you from being a published author, and one person who can keep you from being a writer. And you know that. And writers write. I once answered the question on Quora, if there were nobody else left on the planet, would you still write? I go, yeah. I write to myself all the time. I have 400-page journal that my friend Bob is going to burn when I die. So nobody's allowed to read it. Of course I'd write. But by the way, if you sit down and start writing yourself a letter, or you'll say things that you would never tell your shrink, your therapist would never see this one. I once said to my therapist, hell, I tell you everything. He goes, no, you don't. I said, you're damn right I don't. Some of this stuff is personal. And I don't need to be judged. As writers, we get judged, especially these days. Oh, let's see how many stars I have on Amazon. I'm not getting out of bed.
Yeah. This is what I don't understand, Marshall, is that anybody that would take the time to write a 1 or 2 star review to say how much they dislike the book is not doing anybody any favors. I won't say if the way that I've always done, you tell me what you think, but the way that I've always done it is 4 or 3 stars, 5 or 4 stars, I'll publish it. Anything below that, it's a conversation with the author. If there's things that you think that they need to know, that's the way to do it. But unless the book is universally horrible.
I would have thought that. But a couple of months ago, I read something, Frank Bruni in the New York Times. I read his column, and I'm pulling out a memory, which is always fuzzy, but he said, the 1-star reviews and the 5-star reviews are the same. I love it. Yeah, I hate it. The I love it's go on, and they're great. People want to. One guy, no, he just gave me a 1,700 word 5-star review. He went into depth and character. It was like a thesis. It was great. And I've had 1-star reviews, some of them unfair. The binding on this book was so stiff I couldn't.
Right.
No, the UPS guy left it out in the rain. But some of the 1-stars say, not for me. Those are understandable. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. The 3 stars are middle of the road, not committing one way or the other, and that's probably my personality. But I think what this article said was the 2-star reviews are somebody who really, the book didn't have an impact, but they took the time to let the world know how they feel. And so you got to respect the 2-star reviews because Bonnie Garmus, who I adore, and she wrote Lessons in Chemistry.
Right.
I just went to Goodreads. She's got 1,000,000 5-stars and 16,000 1-stars. For me, usually when we elect a politician, something like 50.2% like him and 49, I'm trying to do the math here, to 49.8 people don't like him. You're getting a 1-star or 5. So yeah, people are entitled, and I often do learn from the reviews.
This is the thing that bugs me though, is that a lot of those 1-stars, there's nothing you can wrap your head around. And this is what I don't like about anthologies, because you get a generic, we had a lot of great stuff. Yours was one of the greater ones in it, but we just didn't have enough space to print everything we wanted to. Thank you. That does nothing for me. I love it. And when those people will send me the judge's feedback and the judge will say, in that 3rd act, or here, you could have done this, or here's an idea. That's what I'm looking for. That's the kind of thing that helps me grow as a writer, as does reading really good stuff. And I have a vivid memory of the day you sent me the digital copy of Don't Tell Me How to Die. I was in a pilot truck stop gassing up between Jacksonville, Florida and Michigan. When you sent it to me, I loaded it into I have a little machine that will read it. And I had put a female voice on, and I was mesmerized. I don't even remember the rest of the trip. And when I got to the end, this is like almost the absolute end of the story where the twist comes out. I had to pull over to Dairy Queen and get a blizzard just to recover from that.
Oh, wow.
How did you do that? Where does that come from, my friend?
I don't know, but the first thought I had was when you said, I sent you a digital copy and you were able to have a female voice read it to you. And the first thing is, I'm not a great reader. But I love audiobooks. And Don't Tell Me How to Die is narrated by the most incredible narrator out there, female narrator, and that is January LaVoy.
Yes.
My
favorites. Yeah.
Oh my God. She's not only world class as a narrator, but working with her, what an absolutely wonderful and supportive person. And it really helped a lot that the story resonated with her. I'm sure as a narrator, she'll say, I'm so happy to have read this book by blah, 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 blah. But in some cases, can I repeat a story she told to me? She said it on another interview that we did together. She said, I've worked with the same engineer for about 700 books, and he is a man of very few words. And when I got to the very end of Don't Tell Me How to Die, he flipped on his mic and he goes, wow.
Yes.
That was awesome.
You have absolutely pulled it off. The dual timeline conundrum is a huge challenge, and it's hard for many people to follow. It's hard for me to follow. But I had no problem at all with Don't Tell Me How to Die. And my sense is, reading 60, 70 books a year for this series, is that the writing in it is so good that when you get to the end of that chapter, it's like Dan Brown says, you leave him in such a place that they got to at least see what the first two sentences are of that next chapter.
Yeah, because I was in the television business, first of all, and you don't cut to commercial without giving them something to come back to. And also because the Buddy series, for those who would like to know, it's the Lomax and Big series. And I started with the Rabbit Factory. Sometimes I teach young writers, and I'll ask them, what's the purpose of chapter 1 in a book? And they go, well, to establish them and to get to seed the character and I go, no. And finally, someone raises their hand and said, the purpose of chapter 1 is to get them to read chapter 2. I go, okay, now you guys are catching on. So what's the purpose of chapter 2? Oh, the hands will go, I think I know this one. Yeah. A lot of authors will film this unboxing of the books. When the box of books, and sometimes you don't even see them open. I just unboxed my books, and happened that it was a snowy day, and my UPS truck it was almost dark, and the UPS truck pulled up, and I knew what was on it, and I was like, grab my camera, and it happened that the UPS driver was someone I hadn't seen in a while because she was out on leave, and we've known each other for years, and I go, oh my God, I'm so glad it's you. And she brought the book. She says, it feels like books. And I go, yeah. And then she said, it's okay, I'm on my lunch break. And she filmed me opening the book. And you cannot fake how good you feel when you're opening something you've waited for 7 years. Oh my God, what a thrill. Am I making any sense, Terry?
You're making total sense, and especially with the system today, is such a challenging place to be in the first place. And there's a lot of writers that want to have that moment and are continuing to swing the bat to try and get there. What advice do you have for those people who are still unpublished and are trying to be published?
I think there's two things. First of all, I read an article that says, your self-published book will never be a bestseller and you will never make any money. Okay, that's like your shrink saying, you will never be happy. Mine said that to me once. And where is he now? No, do you want to make a lot of money? Don't be a writer. My cousin, at the age of 55, was diagnosed bipolar. And he was a successful videographer, really good career, big names. And he just tanked. As soon as they said, you're bipolar, he went into a tailspin. Of course, they started giving him meds, and he closed up shop. His business went out of business. He moved from New York to Atlanta, and it just like really went downhill. But then, after about 10 years, the creativity kicked in. And even though he's not a writer, he's dyslexic, he can't spell or anything, he started writing books about what it's like to be bipolar. And he started printing them on spiral bound, just simple. And then he'd go to book shows and he would start giving them away. And he would say, do you know anybody who's bipolar? This is my book, Bipolar Within, Who Am I? And people started, free book, I'll take it. And then he started getting these feedback. Dennis, this book made such a difference in my life. He's not making any money. He's giving the book away, but he's so gratified by being able to write. And then he had this calling to start drawing. And the drawings were just like, it looks like a bipolar guy took a pencil and started doing this. But he saw trees, he saw hands, he saw angels. And then he started sculpting out of copper and eventually making mobiles. And instead of being a story about how depressing being bipolar is, I did this video about how he emerged and found his creativity. And it is so uplifting because throughout the video, you see the arc of this guy who was successful and then completely down the tubes and then found it, never making any money. He's now in some galleries. He's known. There's a documentary about him. Oh, and by the way, I was asked if I wanted to enter it into film festivals. And I said, what does that entail? They go, you can't show it publicly. And I said, no, I didn't do this to win an award. So I put it on YouTube for free. It's 19 minutes. You look Marshall Karp, Karp, and you look up Bipolar Within, Who Am I? And that video is on YouTube, and it's got 700-800 views with comments and feedback. You got to go into this writing thing for the joy of it.
And if you're reading enough, you get to the point where you can recognize excellence.
Yes.
And this is, I'm sure, been your experience in every role that you've had in your long and varied career, is that in time, the wheat shows up above the chaff.
The first 50 pages I wrote of The Rabbit Factory, my first book, I met someone here in Woodstock that she's an editor, and I told her the premise. The premise is, okay, we're in a Disney-esque Hollywood Disney type studio with a big theme park like Disneyland, and the mascot is a rabbit, not a mouse. And in the first chapter, he's murdered under the tunnel of Disneyland, and then the suspense begins. So I wrote the first 50 pages and I showed it to her, and she said, I like the characters, but you don't describe anything. You don't tell me what he's wearing. You don't tell me what the place looks like. I go, I don't have to tell you what the place looks like because the location scout will find the place and the production designer will tell me what it looks like and a wardrobe mistress will tell you what. Oh, no, you've got to do it. It's called writing a book. And then you learn how to write a book. I remember the first website I built. Nobody knew what they were doing, but you figure it out. And if you want, I'll give you 2 books that you can recommend. I'm not on commission. Bird by Anne Lamott. Oh, my God, she is brilliant. And she is so encouraging to wannabe writers. I've given this book away to a dozen people at least, including, never mind, I won't say, but I've given it away. And the other one, and it came as a surprise, but no surprise, was On Writing by Stephen King, which a lot of it is a memoir about when he was hit by a car, almost died, but he tells you stuff about writing. And then, okay, I'll plug one other thing. My website.
Karpkills.com.
Yeah, K-A-R-P, Karp, K-I-L-S, Karp Kills. I devote a page on my website to trying to help writers within a lot of it. It's got quotes from writers, and because every writer started out as a wannabe writer and a failure, and Stephen King, James Patterson, Dan Brown, they all have lots and lots of rejections. And even as a #1 best-selling New York Times, the whole 9 yards, I got rejections. It's okay, but never give up. And especially the Anne Lamott book, she tells you to just, you do not have to, the journey of 1,000 miles, is you don't have to, if you're driving and all you have is headlights, you only need to see 20 feet in front of you. And you ask, like, how do I get up and do it every day? I don't think of 7 years down the road when the UPS truck is going to be pulling up. I think of, okay, right now, right this minute, what is going on in the hearts and minds of the characters I am about to write about? By the way, Terry, I could not imagine anyone wanting to hear this. I'm sure you're going to turn this into me sounding intelligent, aren't you? But I was going to say, you bring out the best in me. You just bring out the most in me. Blah, 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 blah. And you're such a good audience.
The reality is that I think there are a lot of people out there who need to hear this or will be reassured by hearing this, because we've been taught from the beginning of our lives to avoid risk, to avoid failure. And failure is a requirement for success. You cannot be successful without having failed many times. That's the Madoff story is a perfect example of that. I don't trust anybody. One thing that I believe is that we're all carrying some burden that nobody knows about. And anybody that says I'm normal is either delusional or is lying. So I think this conversation, to me, every minute I get to spend with you is wonderful. And I don't care. I don't care if there are people that don't like it or don't listen to all of it. I've gotten some gems out of it.
Then maybe you can edit this so that the good stuff comes up front instead of all that boring stuff. No, it's Terry. You get to be an age, and the joy for me at this age is not so much me as much as here's some stuff I did. What can I leave behind so that you can benefit from what I did? I just wrote a post on LinkedIn thanking. It didn't say much. It just thanked my high school English teacher, my college freshman lit teacher, directors, writers, producers that I worked with in the television business, people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And they contributed as much to my writing success as I did, because it helps to have someone believe in you. And we all have that person. And we all have, because I maybe not everybody, but certainly a lot of people in the creative arts, they don't believe in themselves. There's some that on that page, helping writers on my website. This was a tweet from, I can't remember her name, but her name's on my website. She wrote, give a person a fish and they can eat for one day. Teach a person how to fish and they can eat for the rest of their lives. Give a person a book and they can read for one day. Teach a person how to write a book and they can experience a lifetime of paralyzing self-doubt. So I am trying to lead you down that road where you can be just as crazy as I am, and Terry will be glad to put you on air.
Before we go, I want to talk about two other things. One is your Be a Character in My Next Book promotion. And the other thing is NYPD Red Volume 8.
NYPD Red 8. It's called the 1159 Bomber. In order to promote some early sales, some pre-orders on Don't Tell Me How. I know people are going to buy it when the reviews come out, but if they buy it before March 4th and fill out the paperwork before March 11th, you could buy it anywhere, any book dealer, seller, whatever. You have a chance to be a character.
I turned 70 last week, and I'm adding another question to all of my interviews, and that is this. How do you want to be remembered?
I want to do something that means something. And all right, my daughter, knock wood, she's fine. But she was at 9/11. She was missing and should go through what we went through. But when she was finally okay, I said, okay, I'm going to do something out of gratitude to help other people. I'm not going to be mad at the people who blew us up. I'm going to try to honor the 3,000 lives that were lost. And I started looking for something to do. And I found, this is 2002, I found this guy in Santa Barbara, California, Howard Schiffer. And this is 23 years ago. And he was running this little one-man charity where he had been in the natural foods business, and he would go to manufacturers of vitamins and get them to donate their products that were, like, say, 6 months away from expiration date. Walmart's not going to buy something that's got 200 pills in it and it expires in 180 days. So it's still plenty good. And so he was collecting these vitamins and shipping them to 45 countries all over the world through various organizations, all on his own. And I told him that I would like to work with him. And we started working together. And because I had some marketing chops, I asked him, like, what was his biggest problem? And he said, 100 million kids around the world are at risk of vitamin A deficiency blindness. I said, I said, I don't know anybody who makes vitamins, but hey, guess what? I know corporations, I know people who have money. What if we get people to donate money to Vitamin Angels instead of vitamins? Then can we buy our own vitamins? And he's like, dude, I think you just changed my entire business plan. And so I reached out to Johnson & Johnson and told them that they were well aware of the 100 million kids at risk of vitamin A deficiency blindness. They're not in the vitamin business, but they're in the kid business, and they were in the vision business. And I said that Vitamin Angels would like to eradicate vitamin A deficiency childhood blindness by the year 2020. It was like that really resonated. And we had to spend a year putting together a business plan and everything else. And Johnson & Johnson was our first supporter. They gave us enough money the first year to help 100,000 kids. And at this point, 2025, with support from Walgreens and Sam's Club and Coca-Cola and big companies all around the world, we are raising enough money to bring life-saving vitamins and nutrients to children and nursing mothers, over 75 million children and nursing mothers. I wouldn't mind if I were just remembered for that.
Have you had fun? This has been great. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for doing it.
You and I always have fun. That's the deal.
In Conversation with Terry Shepard is a copyrighted presentation. All rights reserved. I'm Lisa Davis. Join Terry Shepard next time in Conversation.